You're listening to the Otocast Radio Network.
The very best in online radio.
Log in, kick back, and turn us up.
Otocast Radio.
We supply your anime fix.
Warning. The following program may contain material unsuitable for listeners under the age of 16. Listener discretion is advised.
Here it is, streaming live from blogtalkradio.com. You're listening to the Screen Visions Movie Blog Podcast. What up, Internet?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Neo, and this is the Screen Visions Movie Blog Podcast. And on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Tidal Wave. This is Southern Korean's quote-unquote first disaster film, and what a doozy it was. Check out the trailer.
동남아일대 최악의 지진이 일어나 사망 실종자가 수천 명을 헤아리고 있습니다. 거센 파도가 해안을 휩쓸고 연희야! 오늘 저녁에 야구 보러 안 갈래?
됐다 보마.
어야.
넌 지금 나를 보는 늑대들의 뜨거운 시선이 느껴지지 않니? 아, 따갑다. 따가운 기 들어왔냐나!
꽉 잡아요!
나 오늘은 자고 내일 들어갈 거니까 나랑 같이 살 생각하니까 심장이 막 벌렁벌렁 거려요?
내가 뭘 벌렁벌렁거려요?
차라리 지진이랑 결혼을 하지. 왜 나랑 결혼을 했었을까?
우리나라와 일본 사이엔 대마도가 있어서 대마도 서부 쪽이 지진으로 무너진 날에는 메가 쓰나미가 될 가능성이 너무 높습니다.
미친 거 아니야?
우리나라에 쓰나미가 올 가능성이 있어요. 대마도군에서 진도 7 이상의 지진이 발생하면 해운대 여기는 끝입니다.
I don't know about you guys and disaster films, but I will say, and this is just for me actually having been involved in films where I've had to pretend, because acting is pretending. It's becoming someone else, or it's putting yourself in a manufactured situation and having to act and react to it. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like being scared and being terrified, being afraid for your life, that is probably one of the hardest emotions to bring forth. And that's just my opinion, but I think there are a lot of people who side with me on that. And I guess before I get into the film, really, Tidal Wave is what it's called. It goes, I guess it's more known under the title of, I'm gonna get beat up. I think it says Haeundae, but it's just Tidal Wave in Korean. But it's been billed, or it was billed back in 2009 as Southern Korea's first disaster film. It's directed by Yoon Jae-kyun, and it stars a couple of actors and actresses. The one that I'm willing to try is one that the names anyway is Hae Ji-won, And I know people laugh at my pronunciation. Look, I can't even say pronunciation correctly. I don't even think I said it still. All right, let me calm down. Okay, but Tidal film is very cool in a sense that it starts off as being a pretty hilarious sort of Korean comedy, which this is probably the 4th or 5th Korean film that I've seen, I guess, over the course of this year and maybe a bit of last fall. But they all tend to sort of mix this humorous, there's always that comedic aspect, regardless of what the film is about. I saw it in Mother, and I saw it in a few other films. The other couple of films I saw were, you know, fantasy adventure type films. I think Goemon was also a movie like that kind of carried that comedic aspect. So I thought that was pretty cool. That Tidal Wave also held that up. It starts out, and I don't know why I decided to talk about a disaster film. I was just like, you know what? It's almost summertime, and what I associate with summer, along with all the relaxation and all that, is natural disasters happening around parts of the world, not necessarily where I live. And that's pretty much why I was just like, oh, click off of Netflix instance. The film itself kind of transitions between scientists studying the earthquakes and the phenomena that's happening under the Indian Ocean around the area where all of our characters are, the Korean Peninsula and the city of Busan and some of the surrounding cities in the surrounding area. And it kind of transitions between that and these, I guess, 3 or 4 stories that center around our characters. Let me just go through and kind of, excuse me, good grief, kind of plot some of the different stories. You have, well, I guess I should say that it starts off showing one of the characters' names is Mansik, and Mansik was involved in a 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake while deep sea fishing with a group of people, one of which was the father of a girl who he kind of looks after now in present time, in 2009 anyway. And Mansik, one of his problems is that he feels guilty for the death of her father, and technically he was responsible, being that the Asian culture respects elders much like we do here, probably more so, but at the same time, Mansik had rank over her father and instructed him to do something that, I don't know, I guess he instructed him to do something that her father, the girl that Mansik is watching over, didn't agree with, and the result was the death of this girl's father. Well, anyway, the man's last words was for Mansik to watch over his daughter, which he does, and the daughter grows up to become Yeon-hee. And Mansik never tells Yeon-hee what actually happened to her father. She just knows that he's no longer around, and she definitely doesn't realize that Mansik was responsible for the death of her father during that earthquake and tsunami that was the result of it. All right, so that's one of the stories. Mansik and Yeon-hee are one part of the character development that goes on before this big, massive disaster takes place. Another part is Dong-chun, who is a neighbor of Mansik, and he teams up with Mansik's son, who, it doesn't even go into details about like where Mansik's wife is or anything like that, or if he's even married. But anyway, Mansik's son and Dong-chun, the neighbor of Mansik, often go out and do these like what they think are clever schemes to get money, to earn money. Like they'll trick people into believing that Mansik's son is blind, and people will give money for that reason, and all sorts of crazy stuff. And their part plays up the comedic effect quite well, along with some other characters that I'll get to in a minute. But that's sort of their shits before the whole disaster gets, kind of comes onto the scene. Another part is, and I guess it ties in with Dong Chun's character, is that his mother is concerned about him being an unemployed man, because he's a grown man and he lives with his mom, and he refuses to go to job interviews for whatever reason. Obviously, what I got from it was that he's just scared. He's relied on his mom for so long. He's scared to sort of venture out on his own, and I think that's his problem, that Dong Chun's problem that he has to deal with. And that's his little thing. I won't go into it anymore until after disaster part hits. In this part of review, anyway, as time passes on, Man-sik finally plans to propose to Yuan He on a night with fireworks, and that comes to fruition. He gets the chance to do that later on in the film. Some other characters that have their little story in this film, kind of before the disaster hits, are the geologist Kim. He is shown toward the beginning trying to convince some of the leaders and heads of the weather, I guess the national weather station, to issue an alert, and they don't believe him. I'm like, what are the chances of that happening again, Mr. Kim, or Dr. Kim? Because, it's never happened since 5 years ago. I don't know. That part of the film was the most confusing to me, because obviously a big disaster like that had happened before, within the movie, but these people are just so sure that Kim is wrong in his, his studies and his findings about the weather, that they're just like, oh, whatever, it's not going to happen. And obviously it does. But anyway, Kim has his struggle trying to convince them of that. And he also, geologist Kim, has to worry about his ex-wife, Eugene, who is preparing an expo in the city that he is warning the weather stations and national heads about. The two share a daughter, although Eugene has a boyfriend. Eugene and for whatever reason, Eugene and her new boyfriend have decided, I guess a while ago, not to tell Eugene's daughter about Kim being her real father, because they were afraid that the child would be greatly shocked by the revelation of, another successful person being her father. But whatever, that's another storyline. Yet another kind of a strand of web in this storyline. You've got a wealthy college student named Himi, who accidentally falls into the ocean of this yacht, off of this yacht. And she's saved by Man-sik's younger brother, Hyung, who also happens to be a lifeguard. And after he saves her, rather hilariously and violently, Himi becomes attracted to him, and their whole relationship is very bizarre. It's funny though, because it's like if you were to see this couple out on the street, you'd be like, oh my god, you'd immediately be able to identify that, oh, they're that type of couple. Whereas the woman, she's very critical and criticizes almost everything that the guy does, and the poor guy is working his butt off, trying to meet her needs, whatever. They're that type of couple, and it's funny because Hyung, he has this mindset that, yeah, she's attractive, but she's kind of scary because she blows up emotionally, without warning. And so their relationship isn't really that of a traditional girlfriend and boyfriend. It's kind of like, it's just that they're together, and it's one of the more interesting of the film, and it's one of those storylines that gets the most laughs from me, or got the most laughs from me. And there's another storyline with one of the locals, one of the rich, more prominent elders in the city, wanting to purchase land or buy out all the stores on the shorefront, and build like I guess a giant mall or something to that extent. And a lot of the store owners not wanting to sell to him, and the store owner